Political expert Keith Leslie joins us now for a final look at the federal election campaign as Canadians head to the polls tomorrow. Keith, obviously the tragic events in Vancouver have changed what the final day of campaigning would have looked like for the leaders. But looking back on the campaign that has been, give me some of your standout or not so standout moments.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen a federal election so buffeted by outside forces, that being, of course, Donald Trump and his threat of tariffs. But when it comes to actually the campaign within Canada, I thought the debates were a real highlight. I thought the format was better than most previous years of these federal election debates. I thought we learned a lot. And of course, it gave Carney a real, he got a good shot off there at Pierre Poilievre when he said, I know you want to campaign against Justin Trudeau, and I know you want to campaign against the carbon tax, but they're both gone, and I'm here. So I thought that was a pretty interesting point. I thought Pierre Poilievre's rallies, impressively attended across the country. I thought that was a real highlight for him, but he didn't seem to be able to pivot from his attack dog role that he's had for the last 2.5 years into a more prime ministerial stance throughout the election. So I thought overall it's become down a two-party race. The NDP vote has pretty much collapsed, so it's between the Liberals and the CPC, and it's really, really close.
Yeah, can you recall such a wild swing in the poll numbers? Like through a good portion of last year, the Conservatives were playing with a 20-point lead, but then by the time the election was called, it was neck and neck, and now most polls have the Liberals 3 to 4 points ahead.
I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. Maybe just go back to January. The Liberals were on life support, and the prognosis was not good. But all of a sudden, of course, Justin Trudeau resigned. Mark Carney got the Liberal leadership and got rid of the carbon tax. And then Donald Trump started throwing around his threatened tariffs and then imposing tariffs, and, every day injecting himself into our election campaign with his 51st state threats. And I think that really solidified and changed the issues for a lot of people. And it became down to that leadership issue. And so that's where the CPC, the Conservatives are still at like 38, 39%. That's as high or even higher than Stephen Harper had when he won a majority government. But of course, they're dealing with the fact that Liberals are even more popular, it seems. And Pierre Poilievre himself seems to have an issue with voters. He just seems to have a personality problem that people genuinely do not like the man very much.
Now, the number of people who voted in advance polls was huge compared to past elections. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that election should actually be a national holiday if we really want to have a big turnout every time, because it was Good Friday and people went out in big numbers, and then over the holiday weekend. I think it also shows that a lot of people have made up their minds and didn't need to wait for the final week and 10 days of the election campaign. They knew what they wanted to vote for. They knew what the issues were in their minds. But I don't think we can say that benefited the Liberals or the Conservatives at this point. We're going to have to wait and see what the vote actually was. But over 7 million Canadians voting in advance polls shows you there's a huge interest in this election, and I expect the turnout tomorrow to be equally as high.
And finally, who has the most to lose tomorrow and why?
Well, Pierre Poilievre has a lot to lose. Quite frankly, the job of prime minister was his up until January, and it seems now that they've blown that somehow with a bad campaign, and the Liberals had a really good campaign. So I think he's out of work if he doesn't, become prime minister tomorrow. I think Jagmeet Singh, of course, is fighting for the NDP's life. They really need to get the 12 seats needed for official party status, or else they're in serious trouble. And I think Singh himself, this is his 4th campaign as leader. I think this is his last one as leader as well.
All right, Keith Leslie, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.